ladies and gentlemen, he's been working. He's been doing so many things with the New York Mets. He's also an Army public announcer for Army football. We love him. He's been on our show before, and he's got a great personality. The grandson of Howard Cosell. We're now talking to New York Mets and Army football public addresser, the one, the own, Colin Cosell. What's up, man?
That's an intro, man. I needed that. I needed that boost right now. It's been a travel nightmare day. I don't think I need to talk about what happened in sports yesterday. And to top it all off, I'm a Jets fan, and for some reason, Uber refuses to pick me up. So I'm happily calling in from my new home here at LaGuardia, and happy to be back on with you guys. Thanks for your patience.
Absolutely. And LaGuardia Airport, I'm actually going to be at LaGuardia Airport. In just a few days, I'm going to be flying to Florida to go to a wedding. I actually love what they did with LaGuardia Airport. They redid the whole place. It's beautiful. It's just very loud over there. The people are crazy. And at nighttime, at this particular time, Colin, you better be careful. I hope you're around security. There are some crazy people over there. They're
At this point, it's fine. The day I'm having and everything, they just come get me. It's fine. If anyone's listening and they really need to get it out of their system and like go on a murderous rampage, like I'm here, I'm ready for you. And at the rate I'm going right now, bro, I swear I'll be here when you get here in a few days. So I'll high five you on your way into security and give you some pointers.
Well, I will be there, so I hope I don't see you over there, because then I think there's something going on over there. There's something wrong with whoever. Family members can't pick you up. Somebody's got to pick you up. Colin, if nobody picks you up by the end of the show, I'll come and pick you up. I'll pick you up. I'll take you home.
Done deal.
All right,
love that.
I'm telling you.
Perfect. That will give you the top Uber rate and everything.
I'm telling you. You don't even need a
5-star rating.
I'll hook you up. If you need a ride, I'll drive to LaGuardia. It's about 45 minutes from me. I'll hook you up, man. I can help you.
At the rate Uber is going right now, and if anyone of your listeners works for Uber, I hope they go straight to hell. But the way they've done me dirty tonight is it's unfathomable. So, but luckily, I love LaGuardia. I love this airport. Yeah. It is a little crazy, but it's gorgeous, and it's my kind of crazy. And I travel all the time, every week. So it's become kind of a second home, and I just can't seem to get an Uber.
By the way.
But my wife did.
By the way, that Tyreek Hill injury was ugly. It was absolutely ugly. We will get into it.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it was ugly. Oh, it was so bad to watch. Fish is saying 4 to 6 weeks. I think it's a lot worse than that. I know the injuries would tell you it's only 4 to 6 weeks. That looked a lot worse. And I as a fan, if you're a Dolphin fan, you don't want to see something like that. But nevertheless, Colin, let's get into New York Mets baseball, because if you're a Met fan, which I know you are, and I know a lot of Met fans are probably listening to this segment right now, there's a lot of questions with this team. And going into the offseason, they added Juan Soto. They paid him a $768 million contract. They didn't really extend Pete Alonso the way they should. They gave him a 3-year deal, which he can opt out of the first year. He really played his way into this contract. Hopefully we didn't lose Colin. Colin, are you gone? Did we lose him?
He's still in the feed. But
okay.
It looks like he's just off.
All right. I just want to make sure that we still have him. Colin.
Yeah, he said his wife found a Uber.
Oh, good. His wife found an Uber, so he'll be sitting in Uber right now when he's doing this interview. So this will be fun. Colin, your thoughts?
No, I'm still with you guys. I'm just juggling this nightmare. But my thoughts on it is, look, it was a snake-bitten season. Soto is one of those characters. He's an interesting personality. He needs to just kind of ease his way into this kind of a team, whereas he had a kind of a 1-2 punch with Judge. Soto, I don't think is the problem. I think there was no fight. There was no drive in this team. Last year we were kind of a meme team, but there was fun, there was excitement, and there was drive. This year it was completely lacking. No come-from-behind wins that I can think of in the ninth inning, whereas a team like the Blue Jays had over 45 in this season. Like that's a team that can go off and go on a tear, not the team that the New York Mets put out this year. And I'll tell you, pitching injuries, we tried to put together a rotation of players who are trying to reinvent and resurrect their careers, much like they did last year. It worked well last year. It didn't work this year. It was the understanding that Minaya and Senga were going to come back after the All-Star break, and we're going to be healthy again, or at least for a late-season push. That did not happen either. The middle relievers got too stretched thin. And it was, any lead we had was never safe as a result. And it was just a perfect storm of things. It was just one of those things where I saw the writing on the wall back in June. I was like, there's a distinct possibility that we're not going to win enough games to make the playoffs. And lo and behold, it came down to that final game. But it just had that. There was something about it where it didn't have that excitement or that push. It came in flashes, but it was never consistent.
Colin, does it not bother you that Juan Soto, after the game, was speaking to the media and he just kind of pushed it on the pitching? He didn't even say, yo, I'm taking full responsibility. I didn't hit in the last 2 games. He said, you know what? The pitching started strong this year, and then we had injuries. He was trying to make excuses. Are you surprised Juan Soto would do something like that?
I mean, listen, in the moment right now, this is a team that's extremely frustrated, and with good reason. You know, the hopes were through the roof. We're 21 games over 500 in June, and it seemed like all things were going in the right direction. So, listen, right now, the wound is very, very fresh for all of us. It's, barely 24 hours old. So players are going to talk sometimes. Soto is not the best at addressing the media. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes he's one of those players where something will come out, and it may come straight from the heart, but it doesn't read well in the press. So I don't know. I think we're all screaming at our pillows today, last night, all morning, in different ways. We're dealing with it in different ways. And he went from going to the World Series last year with the other New York team to missing the playoffs by 1 game this year. He's a human being. He's going to be frustrated, and I get it. He had a 30 for 30 season. He was a rock when we needed him. He and Lindor, at times Lindor and Alonso had flashes, but it never really gelled where all of them were clicking all at once. It was one player or another. And again, you need all those things to come together consistently, and the inconsistency and the injuries and the exhaustion of it all and the lack of drive. That's why we're looking at an empty Citi Field here at LaGuardia right now.
1993, obviously, 2007, the most historic one. 93, obviously, the worst team money could buy book came out. And then this year, like, comparatively, like, expectations-wise, do you think that kind of thing is very similar? And you being there all the time, like, what were a lot of the fan reaction?
No, it was different because this was a slow burn. Again, if you were paying close attention, you could see this was going to happen in June, unless people started to get healthy. And so I honestly... If this was a free fall where it was like 1 month of pure hell and everything just evaporated like it did in an 07 or 08, that would be a different story. But this was a slow, precipitous fall to where they ended up. And again, if anyone was paying attention, you could do it just by looking at the headlines on the back pages of the newspapers here in New York. If the Mets are making headlines, it's because they're either doing really, really well or doing terribly. And at this point, they did not get a single headline in the month of September until this morning. Before that, it was when they were on fire. So, I don't know, man. It's tough. I think I'm handling it better than most because I was so prepared for this. But it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, Colin, like now they've obviously said Mendoza is going to stay, but they're going to do a review of the rest of the staff. What does the review mean? We've all heard it before. Obviously, usually there's the scapegoat, which is usually the manager, but they're standing by him. And Stearns came out and said they're going to do a review of the staff. Is that like seeing, like, hey, we're not getting rid of everybody, but we're going to see if we can put this on something else? It was kind of weird because it was backwards to me.
It's definitely a unique situation. I think they really love Mendy, and I think there's a few things he needs to tweak as a manager in handling certain pitching situations. But they love him. The players love him. We have a strong Latin contingency on this team, and he is phenomenal with all of them. He is a great world ambassador as a manager. And I think I appreciate the fact that they didn't put the fall on him. I would have changed hitting coaches mid-season, to be honest. I would have shaken things up internally a little bit more as the season was progressing, as the bats were getting cold. Something to shake up the team a little bit. And you're not going to, you can't change the engine in the car while you're driving down the highway at 80, but you can change the radio station and change the vibe a little bit in the car while you're dealing with a faulty engine. So, I don't know if that makes sense, because Java, you've been through it as a player, like, better than anyone, the ins and outs. But I mean, like, does that kind of make sense from a player's perspective?
Yeah, but it's usually the scapegoat, like we saw, remember, with Tito and the chicken and beer or whatever. But there was a scapegoat for that, and it was obviously Tito. But for me, it's like obviously understanding the culture of that clubhouse. And Mendy, obviously, I knew him from the minor leagues and that stuff, so I didn't know him at this level. But he seems like there are some things that he could. Obviously, the pitching is one, and finding what they could do. But yeah, it was just a little weird because it felt a little backwards because it's usually like it's either all or nothing instead of just like piecing it together. And are they going to keep the, hitting coordinator? Are they going to do it all the way down from the bottom as far as rovers and coordinators, or is it just the big league staff? So that'll be interesting for me.
Well, and I think the other part of it is we've had such a revolving door of managers. It starts to become a good look, no matter how good the vibes are or the culture is within the Mets now with the new ownership and the approach to everything. If you're getting rid of a manager after one good year, one bad year, I mean, look what they did to Buck Showalter, for God's sake. And granted, do I think the game has passed him by? Absolutely. But you win manager of the year and then you're fired. It's a bad look, and it sets a bad precedent for other possible managers you might want. And Mendy is a homegrown, actual major league manager now because of the Mets and with his team. He's no longer a bench coach like he was with the Yankees. So I think they want to see this through, and I don't think they want to set a bad precedent for any future managers that might come down the pipeline should it come to that.
There's a lot of positives to go into the offseason, but there are also many negatives. And Colin is a Met fan, so he is going to stand by his Mets. He always does. Colin's been with the Mets for a while, so he's seen it all. He's seen many different managers, many different executives, and the Wilpons, two different owners. Now, we know Steve Cohen likes to open up his pockets. We know the Wilpons, we called them the check. What do we call them?
The coupons.
The coupons. We called them the coupons, the burnt checks. They were at that time, the organization made a lot of mistakes, but at least they're opening up their pockets. And Colin's one of those guys that would tell you the Mets are in a good position because they're actually doing the right thing for the fans. But when you have Juan Soto and you have these personalities and you have Lindor, you want to see more from your team. And I don't think you've seen enough from the Mets. You haven't seen enough. When you have a talent like that, when you look at the Lindor and Juan Soto, how much money is invested? That's over $1 billion. Yeah. That's over $1 billion for two players. Two. So if you're a Met fan, Colin's gonna try to find a way to beat around the bush because he works for the Mets. I'm not going to beat around the bush. This is an organization that absolutely should have made the playoffs. They choked. Colin's one of those great personalities. And I have a lot of respect for what he does. And when you talk about a guy, this guy used to run a bar in Queens. And this is Colin Cosell. This is Howard Cosell's grandson. And he finally got a job that he's been working so hard to get with the Mets. He grew up a Met fan, a diehard Met fan. And by the way, Howard Cosell was a big Met fan, a diehard Met fan. He also liked the Yankees, too. He was a very close friend of George Steinbrenner. Colin told you the story about him and George Steinbrenner. So
yeah. And he was mentioning he was one of the first original when the Mets became an expansion team. And Howard
so
was one of the originals.
I like Colin, and I think Colin is a great person, and he loves us. He really loves our show, and he says that this is a show that you definitely get attached to because of the craziness. And I appreciate Colin, all the work that he does, and all the time that he puts in to the back end of stuff that he does is pretty incredible.